Welcome. This is Cromwell Valley Park Council's annual meeting, and we have many of our board representatives here this evening. My name is Mia Walsh, for those of you who don't know me, and I am the president of Cromwell Valley Park Council. Kim is our secretary, and I asked him, are you able to see the participants that you can verify that there's a quorum for today's meeting?
Yes, I can see we do have a quorum for the board.
Okay.
And also we have a quorum if we're talking about a council meeting, because that just requires that we have 10 members with voting privileges, and we do.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you. And we do have more people entering as well. I will continue to admit people through the meeting. And again, I ask that you keep your chat function if you have questions, that we will be able to answer those questions during the chat. Of course, any board member at any time is able to speak up as we go through the agenda. Okay, so calling the meeting to order, 7:05. We did verify that there is a quorum for both the membership as well as our board. So any voting that needs to take place this evening will be admitted into our minutes and is valid according to our bylaws. So again, my name is Mia Walsh. I'm president of the Park Council. You will have an opportunity to meet the other council members as we go through the agenda. I have my Zoom in speaker mode. So if you would like to do that as well, speaker mode enables the person whom is speaking to have the largest tile on your screen, and the other participants will be a smaller tile in the screen. So that being said, let's start with the agenda. I personally would like to thank our summer interns. We had 2 summer interns this summer, Kaitlyn Paszkiewicz and Katie Lee. The summer interns assisted the park staff with much of their virtual programming that was available for our community. They worked with the park rangers in putting together the videos that have been posted on both our social media and our YouTube channel, as well as linked to our website, as well as assisted with putting some website updates in, including all of the events on Facebook and also on our website. So I would like to take a personal note to thank both of those young college students who were a great assistance to the board as well as the park staff. On September 4th, I was invited to attend a meeting with the Department of Recreations and Park, the Baltimore County Department of Parks, Recs and Parks. And in the agenda, I did include a screenshot from that Zoom meeting. Each council president was asked to have a private meeting with the senior management of the department. The senior management in this meeting included the Director of Recs and Parks, Rosalind Johnson, Keith Williams, who I believe is, I don't have their exact titles, I'm sorry about that, but he's in charge of the finance and administration. Bob Smith does a lot of the program activities. Chris Mervine is in charge of the nature centers, and as well as Pat McDougall, who I think wears as many hats as one person can wear within the county. So in that meeting, they gave an update of a few things that will be spoken about on the agenda a little bit later in the agenda, but they just wanted to do a temperature check, and it was the first time many of the council presidents had met with the new director, Rosalind Johnson. We at Cromwell Valley Park have had that opportunity already and had meetings with her in person several times. So for us, it was more of understanding what the rest of the year for Recs and Parks looks like, as well as what Cromwell Valley Park can expect. One thing that we discussed was the Baltimore County budget, in which over $1 million was allocated to Cromwell Valley Park. And we did a lot of advocacy for this money. Many of our council members attended a hearing at the General Assembly in the early part of spring, and we received a $200,000 grant from the state through the bond bill process, as well as money that was designated to our park through both capital funding methods that you can see if you look on the finance department website. Of Baltimore County. One of those projects, sorry, I have 3 dogs, so there's some deer outside. Much of that money is going to be, it's slated for improvements to Cromwell Valley Park. And those improvements include a multitude of different items, such as roadway infrastructure enhancements and fixing some of the issues that we have with our parking. It is about 70 to 80,000 is designated for a nature trail for all, which is an accessible mobility trail. The monies are also set forth for a pavilion for mobility, people with mobility issues as well, that will kind of be built in, as well as some work on our barnatorium, our 1800s historic bank barn that's located on the Willow Grove property. I was told during this meeting that the planning process for this is going to be a bit arduous and long, and that process for developing site infrastructure design would begin in either the very end of 2020 or first quarter of 2021. So for any of these projects to come to fruition, we are looking a year and a half more out before they actually would be a finished product. And what we need to work with the county on is using that money in a budget that will address some of the issues that we need to have addressed. So there is a limit of the amount of money that we have, and the number of projects that we have that fall into that is pretty great. So again, that's not going to begin until the very end of this year or the beginning of first quarter. So I just wanted to bring that up. And there's a few other items that we will address later on in the agenda that were talked about at the meeting. On a personal note, I would like to thank the Department of Recs and Park for a lot of the work that they did over the COVID pandemic and continue to do. The Recs and Parks Department, including our park staff, had to honestly turn the switch off of what they were normally asked to do and to provide a whole new scenario of ways to address the nature education and environmental education in the community at a higher level, not just at Cromwell Valley Park. They use their staffing to provide food to the needy people. They also are providing daycare services for children who in their PAL centers for essential personnel. And now that the school year has begun and the schools haven't opened, the PAL centers are also going to be used where students can come who don't have access to Wi-Fi or don't have coverage at home, so that these children can attend their virtual education lessons from the county public school system. But the Recs and Parks Department is taking that on. So they've really stepped out of what their normal genre of work would entail, and they have gone over and above what a Rec and Park department should be asked to do, and they have done it with great with great joy and with class, and they've stepped up to the plate and to help our county community families where this would never have been something that they would have had to do in the past. And particularly our new director of Recs and Parks, Rosalind Johnson, is a female African-American leader, and she's one of the very few who are in the National Rec and Park Directors in the country. She's been featured recently in the National Recs and Parks Association for the work that she has done. And I'm very, very pleased that she is at the head of our organization. And so I just wanted to just say a special thank you for the work that she's done. I believe the pandemic shutdown started within the first 3 weeks of her new tenure. So she really addressed this situation coming into a new job, and she's really done an amazing job. So I would just like to personally thank her on behalf of the board, as well as our community and our membership. On a happy note, Style Magazine is coming up to their last 3 days of voting for their Reader's Choice, and Cromwell Valley Park has been nominated in 4 areas. So I ask that if you haven't voted yet, that you please look at the link on your agenda and consider voting for Cromwell Valley Park in the categories of Best Kids Programming, Best Day Camp, Best Hiking Trail, and Best Place to Take the Kids. There are many other locally owned businesses on this, and I think that it might be a conflict of interest, but there are several of our board members have stakes in some of these other businesses. But for now, we're just going to say, please vote for Cromwell Valley Park. Okay. I don't see any chats for our first section of the agenda, so I will continue to the second section of our agenda. And that is the Shining Star Awards. And I would like to just ask if Abe would like to talk about how the nomination process works, and then I will introduce our leaders.
Sure. At the last monthly meeting, we talked about the Shining Star Award nominations. Each board member was asked to submit 1 or 2 recommendations for the Shining Star Award, sent via email to me, and tallied them up and counted the number of votes for each person. That's about the extent of the process.
So thank you, Abe. Abe is our incoming vice president. I'm sorry, he is our vice president and will be taking the presidential role when my term runs out, and April 1st is when he takes over as president. So the Shining Star, just as a clarification, is a volunteer award, and it is an award that is given annually to 1 or more people who have provided great volunteer service to both the park and our park staff. This year, we have 2 award recipients. The first one I would like to speak of is a member of our Buildings and Grounds Committee. And he has been a longtime volunteer of the park, especially in the areas of our children's garden and some of the gardens around the Willow Grove Nature Center. This person was of particular interest because during the pandemic, we volunteers were not permitted to volunteer at the park. So as a complete volunteer organization, it made it a little difficult to do our jobs, and much of our work is done on property. This person regarded his volunteer work as so essential to both the park and to his well-being, mental and physical well-being. He lobbied to beginning at the director, the park ranger position here at Cromwell Valley Park, then worked his way up to the director of the nature centers, as well as the Director of Recs and Parks, and also petitioned the county councilman to allow him to volunteer as an individual in the park, in the gardens. To take that love of volunteering to such an extreme is something that we all should very much be pleased to have in our organization. As a fully volunteer-run organization, it takes a passion to do something that you love. And so I'd like to provide our first Shining Star Volunteer Award to Tom Grizzard. So we have our second volunteer award is going to someone who has been part of our organization for much longer than what she would probably want us to note. She has been a volunteer for, I would say, 2 decades. I don't have an exact number. She's been here since the very beginning of the council. She's served many roles on the board, as well as taken leadership in many of the programs that we have here that are council run, such as the Fall Harvest Festival, the Holiday Open House, as well as has personally taken. Sorry. That's the husband coming home. First, sorry. Okay, as personally taken on the role of taking our Night Out for Nature series and attending those and ensuring that they all work well. She has been a leader to me and I to her, and it has been an amazing run working with her over all of these years. So I'd like to present the second Shining Star Award to Pat Novak. Pat, I believe you are on the call, so would you like to acknowledge your recipient of this event, of this award? And you are probably muted. So I can unmute you, or you can unmute yourself.
I can unmute myself, and I'm a little stunned.
Ah,
When you're describing these things, I said, who is that? Who is that person? Who are you talking about? My goodness. So thank you very much. It has been a pleasure and a joy not being able to participate these last few months because of my health concerns, because I decided to do a tour of duty at the rehab community. I love this group. These people are, to me, a treasure. They are a joy, and the park is a crown. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for all of the things that you've done for the park and the park council over all of these years. You're an amazing addition to our team. Okay, that is a dog squeaky toy now that you are hearing in the background. So I guess it's better than dogs barking. So moving on then, I don't see any more questions from this section from the chat. I would like to move on to the governance section of our meeting, and I would like to ask Kim Shapiro, our secretary, to provide her update for the minutes.
Oh, yes, that. And also I have a request while I'm on, because I would like to include the names of the people who have called in who are not on our board, so that I make sure. I know Bob Eater, I can see his name, and but some I just see phone numbers, and I see Joyce's name, so I would like to have those names if there's a way I can get them. Yes, actually I have yet another change to the minutes, which I thought, and Saya, I'm very sorry about this, but your name was missing on the list. So there's a version 3 that I can send you. But the changes from the minutes that were sent out was, I had gotten information from Abe that what I heard is KDK is KBK for the company that we were talking about, changes to the gazebo. And also John had pointed out that we had some discussion during a staff report about doing some further promotion work by email for programs. And then it turns out he didn't get any of those emails, which I now understand why. Anyway, so those are the other changes that I've added in to the minutes. So everybody, any other comments? Is everybody okay with the proposed changes?
Okay.
I guess we're good then.
Okay. Thank
With the
you.
minutes. Okay, sure.
So, just for anyone who's attending that's not part of the board, the minutes for every meeting are posted on our website under Park Council link, and they are posted by month. And you will see that the one prior to the last change of version 3, version 2 is posted on the website. I did include a link for that particular area of the website in the agenda. As part of our governments, Recs and Parks requires all volunteers to participate in the volunteer program by having a background check. And that is both for the nature centers as well as the recreation centers. They have, if you looked through the large Baltimore County budget, they have allocated, I am trying to remember an exact number, but I think it's in the $400,000 range to move to an entirely new background check system. They are working on developing that now, and they do not anticipate that to be into effect until January 1. In the meantime, our old system is still in place, and from the board of directors point of view, we do maintain a list of when the expiration date of their background checks is coming to an end. We do require that those background checks are current at all times, and that list is available if you do need to see that. Okay, I now have Kristin McFaul, who is our treasurer, to give our treasurer's report. Kristin, I do have the financial statements and I can pull them up on the screen unless you would like me to give you control over the screen share, if you would like to have those as a visual while you speak. So you can let me know what you would like to do for that.
If you know how to do that, then if you can go ahead and do that, I feel like I would be fumbling a little bit to do that at this point.
Okay.
I guess the one that we would really pull up, or the one that I'm going to discuss the most, is the budget versus actual. That's where we've had changes kind of on the income statement. We could go.
All right, so I have the budget versus actual. Can Kim or Bill, can you give me a thumbs up that you can see that on your screen? Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to mute myself.
All right, so I'm sorry I missed everybody at the last meeting. We were on a vacation. It was my first time away in 6 months in a place other than my house, so it was nice to get away. So, I mean, just some things that have changed. You're looking at the budget to actual as of right now. We have exceeded the budget for our dues. We've exceeded our budget for our donations. All of this is through last Friday. I did make a few changes this morning, nothing major. Summer camp, we did, Mia did the refunds for all of our summer camp earlier in the summer. And I do need to move some of those summer camp funds that are still sitting there. We did have some people that held on to their summer camp, I guess the extra monies that people had for summer camp, they held on to them. So they're currently sitting in our camp brain system as a credit. So I just need to move that money over. I believe we're going to put it into program income so that people will be able to use that. Still income that we've received this year. So we will move that over. Some other things that have changed. Mia, if you want to switch to page 2 of this, I guess that's the only other place that you'll just see differences in the budget to actual. I know on our summer camp program, obviously we're going to see a difference since we did not hold summer camp and we just refunded. We will not have the expenses for summer camp. as well. So we do the majority of what's sitting there is the allocation of the camp brain fee in the summer camp expense category. But otherwise, if anybody has any questions on what's going on, and I'll be happy to field those.
If at this time you would like to verbally ask a question, you are welcome to do so. Any member of anyone who's participating today can verbally ask any questions about the financial reports that were sent out.
So is the lack of revenue balanced out with the lack of expenses? How does the bottom line look right now?
Bottom line, we're actually above budget. We had a negative balance at the end of the year for our budget, and as of right now, we have a positive.
Okay.
Bottom line. Obviously, we still have expenses to the end of the year, but with programs running and people still spending money on those programs, we are seeing some funds come in.
And so, Abe, that's a great comment, because so many of our programs from March through June and really into July, we did not hold them, so that the expenses that were normally budgeted for something like that, those expenses would not have been incurred either. I would like to point out, for those people who are attending this meeting, our donations are primarily given to us in several different ways. So people may make a donation in addition to their membership renewal. People may make a donation specifically for a certain object, like we raised a lot of money in the first quarter of 2020 for the purchase of a gator a gator is a off-road vehicle that assists with our trails committee. We have also had specific donations for the food and feeding and care of our animals at the Willow Grove Nature Center. And sometimes people also donate for a specific object, like a memorial bench. So those are some of the types of donations that we do receive. The donations, then the board decides, if it's not specified for a particular object or fund, then the board then uses that money to offset projects that we choose to do within the park. So just so if people want to understand how those donations run. Okay. I see no more questions, and I don't see any chat requests on that either. So the next item on the list is the financial review, and both two directors, Bill Curtis and Joe Rector, have been tasked with our financial review for the 2019 year. And the financial review is a process that the Department of Recs and Parks requests that we do every other year. We, however, choose to do it each year. And if either Bill or Joe would like to give a very brief update of your financial review, we still need our final signatures on that to submit to the Baltimore County Recs and Parks office. But we would love to hear if you have something that you would like to share with us regarding your review thus far.
Hello, I'm Joe. I'm new to the council this year, and I took part in reviewing the financials. And what we basically do is take all the checks and invoices and cross-reference them to make sure that things were applied to the right areas, and there wasn't anything that stood out to me to be anything that was unpark related or under, that wasn't related to the programs directly or helping out with the park's best interest. And I know I still have to get those over to Bill, so I don't know if he's even seen them yet, but I will get them to you.
Bill has done the review for 2 years in a row. Bill, was there something that you would like to add?
And then I will review them and comment.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm ready to go.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so thank you. This is our governance section of our agenda has ended. If you have any comments that you would like to share, our chat feature is up. Okay, seeing that there's no comments, I'd like to move on to the management section of our agenda. And our first item in the management section is the membership and communications update. Kim, would you like me to share your report, or would you like to just speak?
I can't talk much to communications, I guess, but as far as the membership, I was really pleased to see when I compared our total membership in this off kind of year that the numbers are very consistent from one year to the next. So I think that really shows the dedication of the people who've been hanging on with us despite this downturn. So anyway, I think that was pretty good news to see that.
Okay, from the communication standpoint though, I'm going to go back and I'm going to share my screen just to talk about the social media aspect of our communications. And then I will ask Saya or Pat to just talk about our mailings and what that entails. So Kim, can you just give me a thumbs up that you see our social media screen?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So obviously, as a nonprofit, we don't spend money on advertising, and we have found that social media is a wonderful way to get our programs and events out into the public, as well as sharing beautiful pictures from our park photographers who are out every day photographing the 460 acres that we have in Cromwell Valley Park. And so I just did a couple of comparisons from this time last year of 2019 to this time in 2020 in September. From a Facebook standpoint, in 2019, we had 2,857 followers. That number currently, as of a day or two ago, was 3,620 followers. So that's an increase of about 800 followers in 1 year. So we're pretty pleased with that. From a gender and age demographics of our Facebook followers, 79% are women, 20% are men, and the biggest range of demographics for our Facebook followers are the ages of 35 to 44. In women and men is our highest range as well. And so I'm just going to leave that up there if you guys want to take a peek at our demographics. And then I'll move on to some of our other ways that we communicate with the public. We rely heavily on Facebook events as well as events on our website. You will see a very big difference in events from 2019 to 2020, and that primarily is because we canceled practically every event from March to June. And so whereas we had 158 events this year in the Facebook system, most of them said canceled across the top of them. So we reached 85,000 people this year versus 142,000 last year because the events didn't say that they were canceled. And we had twice the number of ticket clicks last year than we did this year. Most of the event clicks have been within the last 90 days when we really did begin programming again in August and September. So that is a very big difference that you can visually see very easily about how we are marketing our events. Instagram, last week we hit our 1,000th follower. We were new to Instagram in 2018, at sometime mid 2018. In January 1 of 2019, we had 303 followers. In September, a year ago, we had 501 followers, and we've doubled that in 1 year. So we're super happy with that. Instagram is a very visual platform, and we have so many photographers that graciously tag us and allow us to share their photographs. And so we have had great success with that. This summer, as we alluded to, our park staff spent a considerable amount of time bringing hybrid programming, which basically starts with a video and then offers both downloadable activity sheets as well as an opportunity for hands-on with your family to come into the park and do those things. So we had, I think, a fair amount of hits on those. You can see the number of views that each of the programs have had. By taking some of our polls and surveys from our park visitors, you know, they really had enough of sitting in front of a computer. So whereas we were really hopeful that they would sit in front of a computer for a half an hour, they really did take the downloadable materials and bring them to the park, because they could actually be in the park with their children doing an activity rather than sitting on the computer screen. These, however, are now serving a new purpose, and the new purpose is that the teachers in our public school system and private school systems — I actually had a teacher from a private school contact me today — the teachers in the science departments and the environmental science and arts and crafts are now asking permission to use these videos in their curriculum, since they're all virtual. Of course, we give them whatever access these are publicly available. So if there are teachers out there who would like activity sheets and videos and educational videos that go along with them, that these are there for the public. Okay. So that's all that I had on social media. I was wondering if Saya and or Pat would like to just comment on our other methods of communication and what we've been doing to that end.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes, okay, great, thank you. I can speak to the newsletter. We did send out a newsletter about a month ago, and that went out to 341 members. And it was my first time mostly on my own fielding the newsletter. So I think all I want to say is, if there's anything that you would like featured, if you have any ideas, or if there's anything that you'd like to contribute, please just reach out to me in the chat or drop me an email or a call, and I would love to hear new ideas.
I'm gonna buy my shirt. I'm usually really good about that. Somebody sent me a shirt that said, "You're on mute," because I say it to people all the time. It doesn't really happen to me so much. There you go. Okay, so we did our membership and communications, and now we've got completed on ongoing projects. So our current only project really that we're really working on now is a gazebo at Sherwood, and that's still in this planning. And Joe, I'm sorry, I just noticed I spelled your name incorrectly on the agenda. I apologize about that. Both Abe and Joe have gathered some information about a gazebo that has been in disrepair behind the Sherwood house. And I was wondering if one of you could please just give us a brief update. This is not a project that we've decided to move forward on at this point. We are still in the investigation process. So either one of you guys?
I can go. So we were looking at this gazebo, if many of you know, that's sort of back behind the nature center off to the left. It's right on the edge of the woods. And some of it still has life in it. A lot of it is pretty beat up. So we were looking at the options of how to either rebuild it to keep it as is or to repurpose some of what's there into some usable space. Abe and I have been working with some local contractors on what our best route and pricing would be to do those two options.
Yeah, I haven't heard back from KBK when I asked them to try to come up with a scope that was a lot closer to our budget, but it looks like Ward's Construction was able to. We had talked about maybe a $6,000 budget last time. It seems like they were able to come up with a scope that fits in that.
And that is not to rebuild the entire gazebo, but to sort of utilize what's there. It'll be a gazebo without the roof, essentially. It'll be an open air space that you can still go and sit in and enjoy. There will be railings and everything, so you won't fall off the side if you're leaning. But I think it would be nice, depending on what the council ends up deciding to do. It'll be a nice use.
Okay, would anyone like to comment on that or have anything to add on that at this time? Okay.
I think maybe we should just discuss again real quick the funding. I know the whole thing initiated with a proposed donation from someone, right? And then we talked about that might be around $2,000, and then we thought we could raise another $2,000 and then throw in another $2,000 from the council funds, right?
Correct. So I think when we will get Rick and Abe and John and Joe together and discuss a proposal for our board meeting to vote on. So we would actually have to put together a motion to move forward. And I'm not sure that everybody's on the same page of what we want to do. So I think that in an offline meeting that we do that and then come to the next board meeting in October with a motion to move forward, as well as Rick will need to talk to our donors to see if what we're proposing would be satisfactory to what they are thinking in alignment for their memorial donation. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Next on our agenda is Kirk Dreier, who is our senior park naturalist and park manager for his park staff report. So Kirk.
Guys can hear me now? Yes, okay. I wanted to also say the number that came up that didn't have a name is Mr. Mervine. He's been in on this whole meeting, so my boss is there. I don't know if you can unmute him on your end. He said he spoke, but we didn't hear him.
How about now?
There you go.
How about now?
Yep.
Sorry, I guess I had to do a *6 or something weird. I apologize, but I promise I was listening the whole time.
Would you like to introduce yourself, Chris, and just say hi to the gang?
Sure. I mean, I've been to a couple of your meetings, obviously before COVID, but yes, I'm Chris Mervine, and I'm the regional coordinator in charge of nature, agriculture, and environmental centers, and I'm happy to be able to chime in here, but I'm on a phone, and so I apologize that I couldn't figure out the muting situation here.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us, Chris. We're very happy that you are here. And I didn't know that you were on, so all those gushing things that I said about you were honest and true because I didn't even know that you were listening. So
See how that works?
See how that works. Okay, so Kirk, I'm going to give it back to you.
Alrighty. You know, obviously for us, the month of August was really busy because we had to retool everything that we did at the park. But if you've been hiking the park trails, I hope you'll notice the signs on the trails are looking pretty spiffy because we basically kept Ranger Mimi busy refurbishing, replacing signage throughout most of the park. That would include many of the blazes, the Blue Trail, the Willow Grove Trail, Mine Bank Run is the Blue Trail, the Baldwin Barrens Trail. She hiked all those with paint cans and I think really did a good job. We completed about 10 of those video programs with just the rangers and several school programs via our ranger Elisa during the final weeks of the summer. So as you pointed out earlier, teachers are going to be able to use those things for their virtual teaching. So we're really happy that she was on board because she is a teacher and she tried to develop those programs so that they were based partly on curriculum, and then all those will be listed to be uploaded to the website. So we're happy about that. We're now working on our school-based programs that, for one reason or another, I'm going to call it too touchy-feely to safely do for the immediate future. So we had to sort of cut some of those, but we're going to put them online as programs and try to make it as entertaining and educational as we can. These are programs like the Native Americans of Maryland, the Fort Garrison history programs, spring planting, which was extremely popular with preschools and so forth, and the fall harvest among them were all very popular. But kids just, you can't stop them from crowding, and they would be crowding us, they'd be touching. So we've had to retool that. So we'll put that online so they can still at least get a look at it. We got a vigorous schedule to maintain if we're going to meet the deadlines that we have set for ourselves. So we're working on that. As a matter of fact, we'll probably be filming again tomorrow, and we're going to just, forge ahead. Fortunately, we now have the new iPad, thank you, Mia, and the new mics, which work brilliantly. It's a relief to be free of the cord and the mics. So that's really helped out quite a bit. And we're using that equipment on a daily basis. Other things that are going on in the park, Baltimore Bird Club started up their walks on Tuesdays again. That's cool. We get about 10 to 15 people each week on those hikes. That's not including the Hawk Watch birders starting to go up on the watch guy. We also have the Chesapeake Search Dog training. They started back up in the park during the evenings. A few other things in the garden. Ranger Ann met with the Hampton Garden Club, who've been taking care of the native plantings in the one corner, and she gave them a tour, and they held a social distanced social luncheon outside the garden itself. So I'm knocking on wood that everybody was far enough apart from each other. We've had an Eagle Scout finished his project. If you've noticed, there's a new enclosed weatherproof kiosk for the Sherwood side of the park. We moved with the help of Bob Eater, Wayne, and another Bob. I can't remember his name, his last name, to the nature discovery area. We figured that could still have a second life. We can post things down there where the moms and the dads and the kids all go. So we've repurposed it. We've been working with Towson University. Their entomology class will be coming out to the park to do research. So I've okayed that, and so that's looking good. And then flipping back to our summer virtual camp, well, we only had 3 kids. All right. So we said, well, we'd give it a try. The kids stayed the whole week, so that was cool. And Ranger Elisa did a tremendous amount of work. I mean, she really did. That will and can be used, as we mentioned earlier, by teachers in Baltimore County. Let's see. Both sessions of our Pollywog camp, that'll be starting up, I think, October or this month. I forget. Forgot my calendar. That is completely filled. It's only 10 kids. What's that?
I think they start tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yeah, I think it is. So they are, that's completely full. So that'll be held entirely outside. So that's really cool. People are paying attention. They're out on the website. They're on Camp Brain, and that's really wonderful. We're planning to hold in-person school programs in the outdoor classroom. That's that little quarry that's across from Jeff Wolf's house. And I want to thank Wayne and Bob Eater and the other volunteer. I can't remember his name, but they helped in clearing that area. It looks amazing. I mean, it was a jungle before. Now it actually looks like a classroom. It's got a podium, it's got benches, and we're going to add some more benches to it. And it'll have seating for up to 25 people. So that's about the maximum size we're going to go with, but we are intending to do naturalist-led programs for schools. I had a homeschool call me today. They'll be talking to Ranger Laura, who's our activity coordinator. She'll probably be setting them up. I don't know if it'll be one of the first meetings. So that's cool. I wanted to mention, you mentioned the Ranger series and the PDFs. Ranger Laura researched and put together all of that by her alone. So they're all original photos or drawings. So a great deal of that goes out. And then you've already thanked the interns, which I was going to do, for all the editing of the video footage that they did. Appreciate that. And I don't know if you've noticed that the fencing heading up to the Emersons has been getting painted. And then other sections of the fence. And that's being done by a gentleman who came and spoke with me. His name is Phil Gruber. He's of Pro Deck Finishes and Ink. And man, what a great guy. He said that he had his workmen that were not getting enough work because of the pandemic. He wanted to keep them employed, so he wanted to donate the paint and his men's time. And that's what they've been doing. So they've really been painting in their section. We'll have places where the boards are missing. I'll probably get an Eagle Scout to replace those. But I thought that was really nice of the gentleman. I'm going to write him a thank you letter for all that work.
Kirk, I'd like to thank them publicly on our social media. So if you could just maybe shoot me a picture if that was a business card that you were looking at.
Yes.
If you can send me that, just text that to me and I will thank them through our social media sites, because that's amazing. And I know that the Emersons had been inquiring about the fencing around their property. So I think that's fantastic. So boy, that's wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kirk,
And
what is his name again? I'm sorry, what's his name?
Phil, Phil, and Gruber, Gruber.
Okay, thank you.
And it's Pro Deck Finishes, Inc.
Okay.
And I just wanted to tell you that the compilation of all of our counters for vehicles indicate that over the last 6 months, we've had over 202,000 people use the park. Kind of hard to believe. It's really, I was looking at the counters this afternoon. It's with other things that people can now do, it has really cut back dramatically. But we've still had over the last 2 weeks, just on the Sherwood side, over 3,000 vehicles go over that counter. So, I mean, we're still getting way more than we did last year ever. But it's quite remarkable. So that's the end of my report.
Okay, may I ask if anyone has any questions for Kirk? You may speak up, or you may also use the chat feature. Okay.
Okay.
So hearing none, thank you, Kirk. Appreciate it. And Friends of Sherwood report. So Sherwood's been closed for the majority of the year, and it was relatively recently that we had our lovely administrative assistant, Susan Dorsey, come back to work. So there's absolutely nothing to update you on the Sherwood house at this time. And next we have our standing committee chairs, and I'd like to start with Buildings and Grounds. Rick Childs, please.
Okay. We've been keeping the trails open. We had a problem with it when we got back to being able to use the equipment that we had. Both mowers had breakdowns. And so they've been fixed and we're back in mood again. Nothing major except one tree down on the White Trail.
So both of the mowers are fixed. I thank you. I actually just signed your check and mailed it yesterday.
Thank you.
Thank you for picking all of that expenses up. But everything else is working fine.
Yeah.
And poor Kate, Kate Joyce, who is our Talmar lovely Talmar leader. Not only did I mess her name up on the first round of the agendas that went out, I also skipped her just a few moments ago. So I'm going to go back to the leaseholders report. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm going to blame it on that right now. And I would like to ask Kate from Talmar, Kate Joyce, to do her leaseholders report for us. Thank you.
Okay, I don't have a lot to report, so I'll keep it brief. Every meeting since March, I've complained about the porta potties and our basic septic situation. Because we had one like relationship yanked from us because we didn't have porta potties, so Talmar went ahead and got one. It's where the other ones were, and I know that the county's working on bringing theirs back. When they do, we can let ours go, but we were about to lose our VA contract as well by not having a porta potty, so now we have one, and it's wheelchair accessible and has the hand sanitizer in it, but the hand sanitizer disappears very quickly. We are trying to figure out how to open programs in the spring. Except for the veterans program, we're not planning on bringing program participants back to the farm this fall, just because the people with whom we work oftentimes require a one-on-one assistant, and you have to be within 6 feet of somebody to, help them move or do an activity, and then others just won't or can't wear a mask. And so we've decided not to have them back on campus, but we are making videos for some of the clients that would normally come and doing little activities that they can pick up and do at home. And we're working with agencies to figure out when they reopen, how can we sort of bring horticultural therapy to them, if it means meeting in a parking lot or doing whatever. Because most of them, even if they're reopening, they will not be providing transportation for a while because they can't get people in a vehicle sitting 6 feet apart to get out to Talmar. We are increasing the numbers of volunteers that we'll have right now because we've had some for several months, and now they sort of come and they know how to operate and they don't need to be supervised. But it's tough to let people loose on the farm because they will harvest the wrong thing, or people yanked out an entire row of the wrong thing last week. And so we don't really want unsupervised, help. And then finally, this picnic that we discussed last month is this Friday. You haven't seen a lot about it on social media just because we're doing a ton of other stuff in the office, and unfortunately none of us are good with social media. So I'm considering this more of it is what it set out to be, just an opportunity for people to come back and to reconnect with us, share their stories on social media. I just posted something today, and I think it's going to be me all week posting what I'm packing in my picnic. But I'm onboarding new board members who are young and energetic, and I'm hoping that they see this as an opportunity that they could build on next year. Because this would be, oh, come on, a picnic, on a farm that's accessible is really a fun opportunity. And if, somebody other than the executive director is in charge, that'd be even better. But you are all welcome. I will be there with possibly my son and mother, because it's my mother's birthday. Possibly my husband if he's not working, or maybe just with Nan. So come on over and we'll have plenty to share, I'm sure, or bring your own picnic. That is it. That's all that's going on. But, we're up and running.
Kate, I know that the porta potty has been an issue. Do you need help funding that? Do you have coverage for paying for that? I know that they're not inexpensive. So is there some way that we can assist you with that? And do you want us to promote your event on Friday?
In terms of the porta potties, I am going to talk to Pat McDougall, who is the, he's the
Everything.
property manager. He's the property manager. So he oversees our lease. And just say, like, this is what I'm spending per month. Can you, reimburse it? It was, we could no longer operate because we have 12 veterans in the program, 3 full-time staff, 3 part-time labor, plus volunteers. And we've been using the first floor bathroom of the Eck House, but that toilet clogged and was clogged for a week. So that meant everybody had to go upstairs in the Eck House, which we try to say nobody goes upstairs, because that's Susan's space. Susan's very particular. Nobody went into her, like, she's in that suite, and nobody went in there, but it was still sort of like, we don't want people traipsing through the house. We sort of declared that the first floor is what Talmar has a permit for, and that's where we want to keep people. So we can't go through that again and just fall down to one bathroom. So it's okay. And I'm just going to contact Pat McDougall and say, this is the situation. It is expensive, so that this company is not emptying the trailer. It was just like, let's get another, a porta potty here. In terms of the picnic, that would be great if you would share it. I mean, I'll email you, Mia, and just let you know where we are. But it's supposed to be sunny every day this week except Friday.
Oh God.
I feel like that is par for the course.
2020.
But I know some people that are coming, and hopefully our program participants and their families are able to make it out. But it's just nice to be able to sit outside and plan a picnic. It's sort of fun to be thinking about what are you harvesting and what are you eating, and so hopefully.
Just so you know, I did bring that up at the meeting that I had, that virtual meeting with all of the leaders at Baltimore County, and I made it a point to say that it has severely affected your business. So they have recently, as of 10 days ago, heard that from me, and I told them that you were being too nice and didn't want to cause a ruckus. But I am Sicilian, so I do like to cause a ruckus every once in a while. I've been locked up being too nice in my little farmhouse. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I'm now back to the agenda, and Ken Keaty, who is our programs coordinator. I'm sure there's a better title for that. I'm sorry. But Ken, you are up. So if you would like to take the floor.
Okay, thank you. Well, there's not been a lot of activity on the programs front, but we are getting some PPIs, and we're getting some interest from people to hold events in the park. We're getting a lot of interest from running groups to hold events in the park. Baltimore County have decided that they're not holding any running events in the park until 2021. But we did get one other PPI from a lady, Annette Arknew. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not, but she wants to hold a yoga event, or not a yoga event, but she wants to hold a yoga classes in the park, either on Tuesdays from 5 to 6, or on Saturdays from 11 to 12. And she wants to start that immediately, and she wants to continue until mid-November. I told her that there's a limit on the number of people that they can have, and that she needs her own insurance. And I asked her about do people have to pay to attend this, and she said they don't, but she will be looking for donations. So I guess that's what I'd like to present to the council. Do you whether you would approve of a yoga event on Tuesday evenings or Saturday mornings from now until November, and if there's any clashes with any other activities happening that time. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts, or if there's any, if they know of any events that's happening on Tuesdays at 5 or Saturdays at 11 that would conflict with her proposal.
Kirk, has this gone to Susan for verification of any conflicts at all?
Yeah, I believe it has, because she mentioned that today to me, that the yoga program was going to continue. So
I think it's a new one. It's not the Wednesday night one.
Correct, yeah.
okay, well, normally, are they moving around with that, Ken?
Pardon?
Are they moving around with that yoga, or is it one? Where are they going to be?
Well, they haven't decided yet, but I was talking to them about that, and they think the best location would be in the grounds around Sherwood House. I think
Well, up there, especially, I don't think will be too much of a problem,
That's what I
especially
thought.
in the week. What's that?
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I suggested. I suggested Sherwood House.
Yeah, and I think that's a good location. Most of our environmental educational programs are down at Willow Grove, so I think we should be good.
Okay.
With what she's proposing.
I'm wondering, I'm sorry, I have a question about the timing of it, because you're talking about running it until November in the evening. What about park closure? Because sunset is pretty early by then.
Yes. So initially she wanted Tuesdays at 5, and I did mention that come October, the night we're going to have sunset very early, so she probably couldn't have it in October. So that's why I suggested on Saturday. So I think realistically, I think Saturdays would be the preferred option for her. Saturday mornings.
Yeah, evenings probably isn't going to cut it.
Yeah.
Also, I have a question about, you said she's going to ask for donations. Is she a nonprofit? I mean, would that be a legitimate thing to say, I'm just taking donations if you don't have a status that says it's okay?
You know, I didn't ask that question if she was a nonprofit. I should have asked that question.
People are taking donations, and you just don't get a tax receipt. It's just like, pay as you can, pay what you can donations.
Right.
No receipt.
If she's a for-profit organization, then that's not legal on county property.
Yeah, what are they donating to?
Yeah, unless she's working with you guys directly, and then she'd have to be giving you a donation of some sort from whatever she takes in for a for-profit kind of thing.
Yeah. So she's not part of any organization, or she's not like a standalone single person organization. She's just like a person that wants to have these classes. But that's a question I need to ask, whether it's a for-profit or whether she's doing a for-profit or not.
Yep.
So, and if she is doing it for for-profit, I guess the park will be looking for a donation.
Yeah, and she could also call Susan and talk to her as well.
Okay.
Or email her, I guess, and then Susan would call her.
Okay, that's good. But other than that, there's no other issues?
No, not for the where the location is. That's going to be okay, because everything that we ever had, like our Christmas thing, is canceled. So.
Okay. All right. They were the only 2 PPIs that we got in the last month.
Okay, so do all the running clubs then know that they're not allowed to do any runs on our?
Well, whenever running clubs submit or inquire about events, they're told that there's no events being held until 2021.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for Ken before we move on? Okay, I don't see any in the chats. So thank you, Ken, as always. It's always wonderful to hear your Irish lilt.
Sorry I was late.
They don't know you're late. Shh, you just outed yourself. Okay, finance, Rick. I don't probably don't have anything. Maybe. Oh, you're muting. You're muted. You're muted.
I didn't get any questions from the 2 doing the review, so I haven't had anything to work on that.
Okay, so I think Bill still needs to do his review, and then it'll come to you.
Okay.
I have communications in here again, only because I wanted Kim just to briefly mention what she's doing with her weekly updates through the Camp Brain system.
Yes, I took John up on his suggestion and sent out not quite every week. I think I skipped one, but I was just, the whole approach that I'm taking is just to remind people of programs that are coming up and list some that are staying available, and just to remind people that they're not going away and they are options. But I don't know if it's having any impact. Every once in a while, I hear back from someone who is very happy that programs are available this year for them, and they like what the park is doing. But otherwise, I don't know if these promotions are really bringing any folks to the programs.
They are. Yeah,
They are.
They have been.
Okay.
Yeah, like the night hikes are filled. You know, certain programs are more popular than other things. So, you know, some of them were a little shaky. Nobody wanted to come to the gourd making thing. Oh, well. But, you know, the other programs, when you advertise it like that, yeah, it makes a difference. So we appreciate it. Keep doing it.
I'm not very good at this kind of stuff, of promoting. So I don't do a whole lot of building excitement. So if anybody has ideas about how to make it really compelling, let me know.
I like them. I think you do a great job.
Okay. I'm still open for ideas. So thanks.
Okay, and then I have volunteers right after that, Kim. So is anything you'd like to add for volunteers?
Thank you, everyone, for sending, well, the ones who did, thank you very much for sending me the numbers. I still don't have a good sense of how this will help the county. And maybe Kirk can answer that, but Susan had chased it up a bit through her hierarchy and found that it is used in some kind of budgeting work that the county does. That's not too exciting to me, but, and I don't want people to do a lot of extra work just to put numbers out there. So I don't know, Kirk, if you have any special understanding of how our volunteer numbers help the county or help us.
Well, I mean, you know, I enter that data every month on what's called the RPSS report. So I think if Mr. Mervine was still on our call, I would defer to him as to how the county uses it. However, having said that, you know, local government, government in general, they like numbers. And so the more volunteer numbers that they get, the more you know, as an example, in the past, the numbers for our programming, whether they were assisted by volunteers, there's always a category where I list those things. And those were essential in getting our other full-time naturalist position. We would not have Ranger, Brina, if it hadn't been for volunteer numbers and all the other things that you guys do and have done. So it's critical. I don't know all of the answers though. That's one of them I can give you. So.
Okay. All right. Anything else from the volunteer point?
I just will add that, you know, Kirk is right. This is Chris. And it's really the RPSS numbers is really the only thing that we do as a department that we can actually prove or show others what we're actually accomplishing. So the numbers are important when it comes time to make our case for, you know, in the case that Kirk talked about, staff, but also facility needs, upgrades, you know, those types of things. So we definitely use the numbers. We wish it was a better system. We wish we had a better way to do it, but right now this is all we have. So they are important.
So we had
Chris.
a question.
I have a question.
I'm sorry, Kate, 1 second. RPSS, a question in the chat. What does that stand for?
It's Recreation and Parks Statistical surveys or something like that, but basically it's just our statistics that we produce each month. Staff enter into a database across the department, and it's all aspects, all community office staff, regional facilities, and the nature venues.
And then Bill Curtis, you had a question. It's not 100% clear what you're asking. Where do you get the data from? Is that specific to volunteers or other data? So you can unmute yourself and ask that question more specifically, if you don't mind.
Yeah, the volunteer data. I'm curious to know how you collect the volunteer hours.
Well, I'll let Kirk address your specific situation, but the bottom line is the staff work in conjunction with program chair people from the recreation services side of the house. And in the case, I'm assuming with the nature folks, like Kirk will should know what, volunteer program and activities are happening and approximate numbers of volunteers that assisted. And that's where, he would come up with the numbers to put into that report. Kirk, do you want to elaborate a little bit more on how you do that?
Sure.
Feel free.
Yeah, we, as an example, with the birding groups that come here, we count we know they've called our office, so we know who's leading it, and we count them as volunteers, as an example. So these would be external volunteers, not just the Nature Center Council and Park Council, but I would take those, and then however long they led the program, there's a category that I add the number to and the number of hours to. So when Rick gives me, for him, his buildings and grounds, that's exactly what I do. I have a computer category. It says buildings and grounds and trail improvement. And then I just go right across to where volunteers are. How many of the guys, Rick will say 7 guys, and we put in 265 hours or something like that. And that goes in. So each of those kinds of categories. When schools used to come, hopefully they'll come again, I count their parents are supposed to be volunteers to help control and to assist with what we do. So I take them and I count them, and that goes into a category of volunteers, because there's a computer category that says schools BPS, schools, and then schools nature, which is us as well. Because sometimes we have, not this year, until later, I suppose, but last year, we'd have Baltimore County Public Schools. You probably saw them. There were teachers wearing red shirts and red coats in the colder weather, and they were based out of the Sherwood barn. And so I would take their numbers as well. I mean, that was so important with BCPS to get a full-time naturalist down at Marshy, because they had like 9,000 kids were running through Marshy, because every student in the county 5-6 years ago went through the Chesapeake program. Well, now they come out to Cromwell. They've sort of diversified. Sometimes they were at Banneker last year. They were with us in the spring. And again, I count their parents and the teachers as volunteers for programs, because they're legitimately doing educational programs within the park. So that's some of the ways we do it.
Okay. Kate, you had a question?
Well, I have a question, because we track our volunteers, and we used to submit it to the Office of Therapeutic Rec, but they stopped counting that stuff in March when their people stopped working. But we operate inside of Cromwell Valley Park. Should I be sharing my numbers with you? Because, in any normal year, we'd have a more robust volunteer program, but even now we have steady volunteers. Or just keep it as my own private knowledge.
Kate, if you can hear me, the situation should be that we should report you one way or the other, at one location or the other. So if your numbers are being reported through Carla at TR, that's fine. If they're not being reported by Carla, then Kirk should certainly report those numbers. Somebody should be reporting that. I think both Kirk and I were under the impression that it was being reported through TR, but one way or the other, you should be reported.
Okay, they had been through TR until they stopped all of their employees stopped working in March at our location, and she said stop sending it. But I'll get back in touch with Carla, and I'm going to stick with her.
Yeah, get back with Carla, and if you were still doing some things, you could provide that information, and Carla can update. She can actually update the system. At least now, we enter into a new year starting July 1. So if you haven't done anything since July 1, could certainly backtrack and get all your numbers in through July 1.
Okay, I'll do that.
From July 1 on through now is what I'm getting at. So
okay.
I think we've closed the fiscal year ending the June, so I don't know that we could open that up and add any if for some reason they weren't put in at that point. But we certainly can backtrack any numbers, starting July 1 through now.
Got it. Thanks, Chris.
Sure.
Okay, anything to add in this section? Otherwise, we will move on to our section where this meeting is then opened up to anyone from the membership to say anything. Okay, then I'd like to move to the next section, and it is called New Business, Open to the Membership. Is there anyone from the membership that would like to add anything to our meeting? Okay, hearing none, I will move to old business and the dog park proposal. I have understood from Jeffrey Bunditz that Anne has further asked him questions, and he did provide a lot of the data that we spoke about, financials and all of the other things that have gone into what it takes to make a dog park. We on the board after our last meeting spoke privately, and we all have determined that at this time, because of the funding and volunteer requirements, it is not something that we would like to pursue in having a dog park at Cromwell Valley Park. And if it is something that comes up again in 2021, then it is something that we will discuss in the next calendar year. But for this time period, we have tabled that idea. Any comments on that? Okay, seeing none, then I would like to move to our last part of the meeting, which is key messages. I believe that we need to do another round of announcements that our Fall Harvest Festival is canceled. I was just hiking in the park a couple of days ago, and someone was asking me when the festival was being held. It is obviously marked as such in our social media as well as on our website, but I would like to ask Kim to add that as part of one of her weekly updates. And I'm going to repost that as well, that our Fall Harvest Festival is not going to be held this year. And our next meeting will discuss if the holiday open house is something that we need to consider, or if that is something right off the bat that we know that we're not going to be holding as well. But we will postpone that discussion until our next meeting.
There was a question I had. I think Marcy Point did a couple other events. Are they canceling those type of events also? The fair, I think they had the Fairy Festival down there, plus they had some other thing like I think it's right the week before or the week after ours.
Yeah, it's Fall Harvest.
Yeah, are they canceling theirs also?
I think that's canceled. Yeah.
Okay.
I believe so. And the Fairy Festival absolutely was canceled.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that is the end of our agenda. I'm going to give one more opportunity if someone has anything that they would like to add to the meeting, either via chat or via live. Okay, seeing none, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. I see Rick Childs has made a motion, a second to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
There are a lot of seconds. That means everybody's ready to go night-night. 8:30, that's actually when our agenda was scheduled to end. I would like to thank each and every one of you for your time this evening. I would especially like to thank my board members who give their time effortlessly and volunteer with smiles on their faces, and we have such a wonderful group of people. Thank you, Bill, for giving us the extra smile right now. And our park staff who really have gone over and above during this pandemic. We all love the park. The park is a respite of soul searching and a way to clear your head during these difficult times. And so I just like to thank all of you for your part in making our park, I think, the best park that there is. Let's hope that the readers of Baltimore Style magazine vote that way as well. And I bid you all a very good night. So thank you all.
Good night, Mia. Good job.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,
everyone.
Bye-bye.